It was a cold, dark night in late October when my friend Alex shared a story that still sends shivers down my spine. Alex had always been a bit of a skeptic when it came to the supernatural, but this experience changed everything for him. He lived next to an older man named Mr. Thompson, who was notorious for his odd behavior. Mr. Thompson never interacted with anyone in the neighborhood. His yard was overgrown with weeds, and he never decorated for Halloween, which made him stand out even more in a community that loved the holiday spirit. On Halloween night, Alex and his sister decided to go trick-or-treating, and as they walked past Mr. Thompson's house, they noticed it was dark. The eerie silence was interrupted by a strange sound coming from inside, something heavy being dragged across the floor. Curiosity got the better of Alex's sister, and she urged him to knock on the door. But Alex, feeling an instinctual chill, pulled her away. "Let's just keep walking," he insisted, his heart racing. The next day, Alex woke up to find police cars outside Mr. Thompson's house. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach as he approached the scene, only to hear whispers from neighbors about the old man's sudden death. But what shocked everyone more was what the police discovered: a hidden door in the basement that led to a room filled with disturbing collections of old dolls, strange photographs, and even journals filled with the man's eerie thoughts. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister had been lurking behind those closed doors. He learned that Mr. Thompson had lived alone for years, but no one had ever known what secrets he kept hidden. After hearing Alex's story, I couldn't help but wonder what else might be hiding in plain sight in our own neighborhoods. On an evening shrouded in shadows, my friend Jenna recounted her unsettling encounter with an old doll. She'd always been fascinated by antiques and was thrilled when she stumbled upon a vintage doll at a garage sale. It had a worn-out dress and glassy eyes that seemed to follow you, even when you weren't looking. Excitedly, Jenna brought the doll home, placing it prominently on a shelf in her living room. At first, everything seemed normal, but then strange occurrences began. One night, while watching TV, she noticed that her keys had gone missing. After searching everywhere, she found them sitting next to the doll. Must be a coincidence, she thought, but the incidents kept piling up. Objects continued to vanish and reappear near the doll. Then came the night she was jolted awake by the sound of soft giggling echoing through her house. Jenna's heart raced as she checked on her daughter, who was fast asleep. The giggling persisted over the following nights, growing louder. One evening, Jenna woke up to find the doll at the foot of her bed, its eyes glimmering in the moonlight. It was facing her, and she felt a chill run down her spine. Panic set in as she realized she had to get rid of the doll. The next day, she returned it to the garage sale, hoping to rid herself of its unsettling presence. But later that evening, as Jenna was settling down for bed, she saw the doll back on her shelf, as if it had never left. This time, the doll seemed to smirk, and Jenna knew she had made a grave mistake. In her desperation, she learned about the doll's history, rumors of it being cursed, linked to a girl who had mysteriously vanished decades ago. Jenna's life turned into a nightmare, one that she couldn't escape, all because of a seemingly innocent antique. Determined to end the torment, Jenna sought help from a local paranormal expert, hoping to cleanse her home of the doll's malevolence. The expert arrived with an array of tools, including sage, crystals, and protective charms. As they performed the cleansing ritual, Jenna felt a strange energy swirling around her, a battle between the living and the spirit tethered to the doll. The air crackled with tension, and Jenna could almost hear the laughter again, mocking her from the shadows. After the ritual, Jenna hoped the nightmare was over, but the doll remained. That night, as she lay in bed, she heard a soft voice whispering her name, growing closer and closer. Frantically, she covered her ears, but the sound seeped through, enveloping her like a shroud. Suddenly, her daughter burst into the room, wide-eyed and trembling, claiming she had seen the doll move on its own. In a desperate attempt to break the curse, Jenna decided to bury the doll deep in the woods. The next morning, with a heavy heart, she dug a small grave and placed the doll inside, covering it with dirt. As she walked away, A sense of relief washed over her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that it was only the beginning. The whispers lingered in her mind, and every time she glanced out the window toward the woods, she wondered if the doll was truly gone or merely biding its time, waiting for the next chance to return. On a night filled with foreboding, my cousin Kevin recounted his terrifying experience in the woods behind his childhood home. Growing up, he and his friends would dare each other to explore those woods, but they always felt a strange energy lingering among the trees. On Halloween night, feeling bold, Kevin and his friends decided to venture deeper than ever before. As they walked, they stumbled upon a clearing that was unlike anything they'd ever seen, a circle of stones that seemed ancient and weathered. As they sat around the stones, sharing spooky stories, they began to hear whispers carried by the wind. At first, they brushed it off as their imaginations running wild, but the whispers grew clearer, sounding like faint voices calling their names. Feeling a mix of fear and excitement, they decided to investigate. But as they moved closer, the atmosphere shifted. The temperature dropped, and shadows danced between the trees. One of Kevin's friends, Matt, suddenly felt something cold brush past him, causing him to scream and flee back towards the path. Panicked, the rest followed, but in the chaos, they realized Kevin was missing. They called out for him, their voices echoing through the darkness, but he was nowhere to be found. After hours of searching, they finally spotted him standing in the clearing, staring blankly at the stones. When they approached him, he seemed dazed, as if he had just woken up from a deep sleep. He couldn't remember how he got there or what had happened during that time. Once they made it back home, Kevin couldn't shake the feeling that the woods had been alive, watching them. The whispers had faded, but he knew they were still there, waiting for the next group of curious souls to venture too far into their depths. In the following weeks, Kevin noticed he was becoming more withdrawn, plagued by nightmares that felt far too real. Each night, he dreamed of the woods, the whispers beckoning him to return, urging him to join them in their eternal dance among the trees. His friends tried to lighten the mood, but Kevin's silence grew heavier, and the thrill of their Halloween adventure faded into a dull ache of fear. One evening, unable to resist the pull any longer, Kevin returned to the edge of the woods alone. The shadows stretched long, and the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow across the clearing. As he stepped into the familiar terrain, the whispers returned, stronger than ever, wrapping around him like a familiar embrace. It felt as though the trees were reaching out, inviting him deeper into their secrets, promising adventure but threatening danger. Just as he was about to cross into the clearing, a sudden realization gripped him. He could become one of those lost souls, forever wandering the woods, lost to the world. Shaken, he turned and fled, vowing never to return. But as he reached the safety of his home, he could still hear the whispers trailing behind him, echoing in his mind. That night, he lay awake, wondering if he had truly escaped or if the woods would one day claim him, drawn by the dark curiosity that now pulsed through his veins. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey through the Forgotten Doll, the Silent Neighbor, and the Whispering Woods. We hope you enjoyed these eerie tales filled with mystery and suspense. Remember, the shadows hold secrets, and sometimes the things we least suspect can lead to the most spine-tingling adventures. Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time, keep your lights on and your doors locked.